Do you think that dogs can differentiate human emotions? This is the question at hand that researchers Corzine Mueller, Kira Schmidt, Angeli L.A. Barber, and Ludwig Huber focused on in a psychological experiment attempting to find out if dogs can discriminate emotional expressions within human faces. This is an area of interest given the importance that dogs play into human life. Domestic dogs truly become a part of human families and are loved just as much as any other family member. Having the ability to understand your dog's emotion is critical to being their trusted companion, so it's only natural for humans to be curious if dogs can differentiate between emotions they personally experience. In the past decade, before this experiment was conducted in 2015, it has been a focus of interest, but to date, no study has convincingly shown that animals have the ability to discriminate between emotional expressions. In order to limit mistakes made in previous experiments, they conducted a better controlled study where the dogs could only solve by discriminating the emotional expression in the presented human faces. After initially training with picture pairs of a face with a neutral expression and the back of the head of the same person, a group of pet dogs learned to discriminate between faces of the same person with a happy or angry emotional expression that was presented on a touchscreen monitor. The probe trials included 1. The same half of the faces as in the training but of novel faces. 2. The other half of the faces used in training. 3. The other half of novel faces. And 4. The left half of the faces used in training. The figure shown here exhibits the example of an emotional stimuli. All pictures were of adult Caucasian women in an effort to minimize factors that could impact experimental conclusions. Here is an additional figure that exemplifies how the experiment was set up and conducted. The dog owner sat on a chair at the opposite end of the room from the pet dog and faced them. The dog then sat immediately next to the touchscreen, and its nose was within 30 centimeters of the screen in order to encourage quick response to the stimuli. It was discovered that within the training phase, the subjects that were rewarded for touching the angry stimuli reached the learning criterion at a much slower rate than the subjects rewarded for touching the happy emotional stimulus. This could be explained as the dogs recognized the angry expression presented and initially responded to it as they would respond to any aversive stimulus. This is a natural response that required dogs to overcome their born tendency to move away from a threatening stimuli in order to reach the learning criterion of this particular experiment. The results found within the training phase are depicted within these following figures. Figure A shows the proportion of subjects that reached the learning criterion of the dogs rewarded for touching the happy stimulus, which is defined as the dashed line, or the angry stimulus seen here as the solid line. Figure B provides insight on the portion of dogs that reached the learning criterion shown for the upper halves of faces, also known as the dashed line, or the lower halves, which is the solid line. This study, to the researchers' knowledge, represents the first solid evidence that a non-human animal can differentiate between emotional expressions in a different species. In this figure, the results show the percent correct of the dog determining the human emotional expression, either of happiness or anger. The successful subjects have had the opportunity to form emotional memories with humans, and therefore are able to depict the expressed emotions and recognize them within other humans. This social learning is extremely similar to how we as humans learn over time. Emotions in animals are a trending conversation in biopsychological research because it increases our understanding of animal behavior, but also because it's relevant for animal well-being and policies. Knowing that animals have the ability to understand human emotion amplifies our quality of life and relationships with dogs, and therefore encourages us to find more meaningful relationships with other non-human animals.